Yeah, I'm trying to get my face right.
Okay, there we are. We're on. You're looking good.
I'm trying.
We look like twins. All right. Hey, Steph, can you check Facebook, see if it's on there? How's your family doing?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, everyone's good. All right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. You?
Considering?
Right on. Yeah. You know, mom's checking in every other day and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. All right, people are signing in now. Good.
Oh man.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you, man. I miss you.
Yeah, I know, man. I got to get my way out there, dude.
Yeah, I'd love to see you.
Everybody's in Kentucky?
No, just Joe. Just Joe's in Kentucky. Joe's up in Louisville. My mother was here.
Okay.
But your mother could only live with you for so long. She went back by my brother.
Okay. Where's Tony at? Where's he?
He's still in Lodi. He's still in Lodi.
All right. Well, I gotta hit mom up. I need some food.
Listen, my daughter Sophia has your obsession with the chicken cutlets now.
See, smart girl.
Wait, I don't know if I could say that anymore in today's world.
Bullshit.
We'll let a few more people sign on, and then we'll get talking, because of course a lot more has taken place since we agreed to do this.
Yep.
Crazy, right? Really, really crazy.
Man,
you know,
it sucks.
Yeah. Did you ever think that we'd see this in our lifetime?
I'm not surprised. Not to this magnitude, but you know what? When we were growing up, I thought we were going to be. I had this conversation with some friends and family, and I thought we were going to be the generation to bring about change. Just because, you know, we had the whole hip hop. We are the hip hop generation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, what happened? I don't know what happened. Well, you know what happened? Rodney King, that's what happened, man. That's what, I think that was part of it. I think that was part of it. Because you think about Rodney King and OJ and how that changed the way we see the media, this 24-hour coverage of media, all of that was impacted by those two incidences.
The 24-hour media is a problem. That definitely changed things.
Absolutely.
Because when we were kids, all the way up through high school, it was there. Yeah. We've both had plenty of experiences. It was there.
Yeah.
But it wasn't thrown in your face so much, and it couldn't be blown up the way it is today. Absolutely. You know, but let's make no mistake about it. It was there. It was right where we lived.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was right where we lived. And God, there's so much that we could touch on today. And I know it's going to get rough, because very rarely, even the conversations I have seen before, very rarely do you see two people that could speak honestly. Yep. And they know where the other person's coming from.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And where I think we failed this time, Dante, when this thing happened with George Floyd, out of all the publicized killings of black men, right? Out of all of them, there's always been division. And the media has always loved that division.
Yeah.
From every single one. There's not one that you can name, except for, I believe it was Mr. Byrd, that was dragged in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I remember where anybody that saw that was sick, right? Just sick. Yeah. George Floyd was the first time in more closer modern times where everybody was on the same page. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
No one looked at that video and tried to side with the cops. Nobody.
Right.
No cops, no white people, no black people, no brown people.
Yep.
And we fucked it up. Because there was too much opportunity there for people to gain in what they want politically. Let's face it.
Yep.
That's what it came down to. They pushed and pushed and pushed.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's money. It's money and opportunity.
We had the opportunity. It was there. Everybody was on the same page. No one would question that those cops should have been locked up immediately. You know, I'm not a conspiracy kind of guy, but there's something else there. I don't know what it is. 25 years of federal law enforcement. Many years before that, getting handcuffs put on me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've never seen a cop, a federal agent, no one keep someone where they handcuff them on the ground for 8, 9, 10 minutes. It doesn't happen. And then you add the arrogant look on that scumbag's face.
Yeah.
What was going on through his head? Of course, there's a lot of hatred there, but there's something else there.
Yeah.
So when I hear people say more training, but that has nothing to do with training. That's what's in here. Okay, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't train that out of somebody. You can't train it out of somebody. But we had what everybody wanted. Everyone, black, white, brown, was on the same page. And somehow we let it get away. Okay? Now, before you go on, and I want you to talk as much as you want, I want people to understand, like, of course, everyone who's back home and that will watch this, they know a lot about me. They know a lot about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we have an advantage is you grew up around a lot of white people. You were a big fixture in the neighborhood, in the town. People love you. Everybody loved you. You're probably the most popular guy in our town I ever knew. But I know you the way a lot of other people don't. You were still that one black guy for a lot of people.
That was the token.
That's right. For me, that wasn't my case, because I was privileged enough to be accepted by a lot of black people, a lot of brown people. That was my life. My house was always filled with black and brown. A lot of people didn't have that opportunity.
Right.
They just didn't. I did. And there's no doubt that played a huge role in my life, for the better, you know. Take it away, brother.
So where do we want to start? Do we want to just choose like topics or
wherever you want? Let's talk about how we grew up, if you want. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
For me and you, first grade.
Yeah.
First grade.
Hold up, my wife wants to listen. You want me to take it out?
I want to hear.
Oh, all right. Can you hear? Say something, Larry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear.
My wife's listening too. She's like, "Can I hear?"
Mine too. She's sitting right here like she's not paying attention.
I'm just casually scrolling through my phone.
Right on.
There you go. All right, so let's go back. Lodi, New Jersey. We're good friends. We grew up in a great place for the most part. First grade, me and you are friends.
Yep.
Okay. There's two things that stick out about the first grade for me. First and second grade, me and you.
Yep.
First, we're sitting in lunch together, and it's hamburger day. You're sitting next to me. You take your bun off to put ketchup on your burger, and I spit on your hamburger because I was an absolute little dick. You raise your hand. You call over that big mean lunch lady, and I forget her name, but you said, "Larry, spit on my hamburger." And she looks and she chewed my ass and she said, "Apologize right now." And I looked at you and I looked down on your hamburger and I said, "I'm sorry, hamburger." And we both got thrown out for laughing so hard.
Yep.
Right. And then I remember me and you are best friends. And Will Vignola and Louis Santiago totally played us. They were, I think, sixth graders.
Louis Santiago. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. And so me and you were inseparable. And we were both good with our hands. We could both fight. We both were good with the hands. And so then they started playing us. Louis said, "Hey, Larry can kick Dante's ass." And Will said, "No, Dante will kick Larry." We didn't want it. We were best friends.
Yeah.
And before you know it, we're in front of the school. Me and you were fighting.
Oh my God.
I still remember that stuff, you know?
Willie Vignola.
Yeah. I ran into Will Vignola in Las Vegas a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Tommy Lee was doing an interview for VH1, and me and Stephanie, and I completely interrupted the interview on VH1. And it was bizarre. It was bizarre, you know? But we had a great childhood. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But you still grew up in a predominantly white town, predominantly Italian town.
Absolutely.
Okay. And even though people loved you, everybody loved you, you know, you're honestly one of the best dudes I've ever known. You still were living with a bunch of white people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my favorite times with you was when we were very young and it was me and you alone taking the bus to the Bergen Mall to buy Fat Boy's new album or Run DMC's new album.
Yeah.
Because it was just you. You could just be you. And I also loved being with you and your brother and cousins.
Right on.
I liked being the outcast for a time because not that you acted different, but there was a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You were just you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's the side of you that a lot of people don't get to see. Now, as much as people loved you, there were still jokes because you're the black guy.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I never thought about that till I was a little older, Dante, that's got to get old. It has to get old. You know, eventually it has to get old because you're always supposed to put a smile on your face and laugh.
Yeah.
And I reached out to you about a year ago. And I never told you. Fuck.
Oh, don't start now, man. It's too early.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I got into a fight. Right?
Yep.
It was me and a black guy. Stupid stuff. And that started off racially on his end. And when I saw two of my black friends back him just over a color thing, I had known them most of my life just like you.
Yep.
You stood behind me and I never forgot it. I never said nothing until about a year ago I reached out to you. I never forgot that, you know, because it showed what kind of friend you were. And I'll never forget it. And I appreciate it. And I love you for it.
Yeah, right on, man. Good people, man. That's it. It wasn't about black or white. It was, you know, you didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? You were being you. It's the same thing in many cases. It's well, why don't you like me because I'm brown? You know what I mean? It's like I didn't do anything wrong. You don't know me. You know, just don't assume whatever. But you're my boy. You've always been my boy. So
yeah. It was good times. And if you break the stereotypes down, I was always the one in trouble. I was always the one in the police department. You didn't get in trouble.
Absolutely. you know why? You know why?
Your mother would have killed you.
Well, that too, but I also benefited from privilege.
Right. Yeah.
Think about besides you, but think about some of the other folks that I hung around with.
Right.
They were all families of law enforcement or department, and Dante was a good kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's one of those things is that, you know, we were in a bubble. We were in somewhat of a bubble living in Lodi. My experience, like you alluded to earlier, my experience is extremely unique compared to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Growing up as a young black man in a white town. Most of my father figures growing up were white males, were strong white males. And they were not only strong role models, but they were law enforcement, Coley's dad and Mr. Peach, whatchamacallit, Mr. Detective Pizzoro. They were also, you know, firemen, volunteer firemen and stuff like that. So they did a lot of community stuff. It was all about together and everything like this. These are the guys that, you know, when I look at myself at being a man, those are the guys that I emulated. I wanted to be like them, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get it.
And they just so happen to be white guys.
Yeah, yeah. And the funny thing is, me growing up, my heroes were all black. It just happened that way.
Right.
They weren't my heroes because they were black. It just happened that way.
Yeah.
The people, those are the people I looked up to. You know,
Right.
it just happened. You know, I don't even know if you know this, but the Lodi Boys and Girls Club, I know you know that, played a huge role in my life.
Absolutely.
Okay, huge
Absolutely.
role. I signed up as an 8-year-old when I was 4 years old. I was 8 years old for 4 years till I was legally finally to be there. They all celebrated, but I spent a big part of my life there.
Yeah.
And you probably won't remember, but there came a time where that only used to be open to Lodi residents.
Yep.
So mostly white kids.
Yep.
They needed membership and money, so they opened it up to Passaic County. So when everyone from Passaic started coming on the bus, most of the white families pulled their kids out. They were scared. You know, they were scared. The kids were rougher. They were tougher. They were older. They pulled them out. Not me. I stayed. I lived right across the street. And at first, for a long time, there were a lot of issues. You know, I fought a lot. I fought with a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of black guys, always. But there was no way I was going to leave. And eventually, what happened is a lot of those people that I still am, there are probably some of them on here today, became some of my best friends.
Absolutely.
You know, because I wasn't, the color didn't bother me, the fighting didn't bother me. Sometimes it did if you had 5 Puerto Ricans jump on you. You know, I was just telling Stephanie a story yesterday. I used to be a big pool player, you know, and my dad had bought me a stick. And so I'm playing pool with my nice fancy stick, and it's me and like 10 Puerto Rican kids. And they started trouble with me, and one of them hit my stick. And I go, don't hit my fucking stick. And then you know what happened? Everyone started going, ooh, he called you a spick, and the fight was on.
Exactly.
But guess what? I never left the table. Left the table. The reason that I'm pretty good at a lot of things today, and you could ask my wife, I always say this, I'm good at things that a lot of white dudes aren't, is because of the years I spent with all my black friends and all my Puerto Rican friends growing up in the Lodi Boys Club.
Absolutely.
You know, I lived at the park, one of the few white guys that lived there. You know, all the older black kids and black guys took me under their wing and treated me as one of them.
Jose.
And so my life was definitely enhanced from all the black and brown people in my life. You know what I mean? Go ahead, brother.
Here's the thing, Larry. Okay. So I remember those boys club years, and I didn't know that part of it, but I knew when I started going to the boys clubs and the camps and stuff like that, the the kids from Passaic were already there. They were there and stuff like that, as well as a bunch of the kids from the village at the time, the older kids from the village. You know what I mean? They were all there, but a majority of them, they were all from Passaic and stuff like that. So to me, it was like, oh, all right, cool. You know, oh, there's Larry over there. What's up, Larry? You shooting pool, knocking everybody off the table.
Yeah.
Miss Elsie teaching everybody how to swim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that woman saved me many times, believe me.
I believe it.
You know?
It's cool too because and you brought up something on one of your posts not too long ago about white dog owners not being exposed to people of color and the dog taking the cues from the owner. And I never thought about that, never at all. And I was just like, holy shit, you know what I mean? That's unique that you said that, and it speaks volumes because it goes to what you were just talking about. It goes to your point as to, you know, we have the relationship that we do because you were exposed, you were introduced to people of color, of all races, at an early age. So you didn't grow up with these thoughts of you know, oh my God, you know, this or that. You know what I mean? We were all one.
Yeah.
We were all one. Everybody that we hung around with, we were all one. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, and that's for the most part, that was us. That was Lodi. You know what I mean? I was talking to a couple guys the other day from DeVries Park, and you know, you look at Lodi. We were Lodi. You know, the South Bergen kids. We were the poor kids.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at, we were the hood rats, right? We were the kids in Bergen County.
Definitely.
You know, there were white poor kids, there were black poor kids, and we all got along. It didn't make a difference. We was all broke trying to make a way.
Yeah.
You know, and it you know, it just it makes me think about you know, you and I, our stories, we're the lucky ones.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, everybody has different opportunities and shit like that, but it's what you make of them. But we are truly the lucky ones, bro, because you know where we came from and what we were doing, we were probably, you know, statistically going to be limited in the success that we had in life. And we beat the odds, bro.
Yeah, definitely. The Lord have mercy. Yeah, my wife tells me, well, you know, Stephanie, a very long time, and she, you know, she truly believes that everyone has a guardian angel.
Yeah.
She told me, she said, you have many. You know,
right.
and I don't blame her because my life can be very different. So all the people that follow me online and stuff, it's great. They know me for dogs. They know nothing about me. Right. You know, I don't hide anything. I'm pretty open book. Right. But if I told people a lot of my stuff, they would never believe me. Right. You know, my friends back home, a lot of them say, what do the guys at work think when you tell them some of the things when you were kids? I don't tell anyone. If I told them that stuff, they wouldn't believe me. You know what I mean? Yep. But let's put it this way. When I first went to the United States Border Patrol, my background took a long time because I was open. I'm
still surprised you got in.
Well, let me tell you what happened. I used to call Washington every day, right?
Wait, before you start that story, what made you make that change? And what made you select that career field?
That's a good question. No one's ever asked me that. I was kind of on the other side of the law, as you knew.
Yeah.
Okay. I was doing plenty wrong.
Yeah.
I still remember me standing by now my wife's locker trying to throw the moves on it. And I'll never forget you walking down the hallway and doing a double take. Like, what the hell are you trying? Right. What are you doing? Yeah. Okay. When I started going out with Stephanie, I knew very quickly I had to probably stop the things I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was one of our very close mutual friends who came by my house one day and kind of gave me a warning. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned everything around literally that day because I knew male.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was another time when I had run to Passaic to do a beer run, and a lot of our guys were hanging on the corner, and a car came by driving with girls. I don't know who they were, no, and just kind of gave me a warning out the window to my friends. And I knew if I was going to stay with my wife, I had to make some serious changes, and I did.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to be a cop. And to be a cop where we grew up, you have to know somebody. And I knew plenty, but I knew them in the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So one day I was going to the post office to mail an application for Baltimore Police Department. And I ran into James Howard, who was working as an immigration inspector at the time.
Yeah.
And he told me, he goes, man, if you can get in the Border Patrol, that's the way to go. I didn't know what the Border Patrol was.
Right.
To make a long story short, put in my application. I got called down to Baltimore for an interview. And they basically said during my interview, be honest. We know everyone's done things. We're not going to hold it against you. We just want you to be honest.
Yeah.
About 30 seconds into my honesty, they threw me out. You got to go. I said, wait a minute. You said be honest. You know what I mean? If
Right.
you want a guy to be a cop in Baltimore, you want somebody like me. You got to go. You got to go. And then I waited for a while for the Border Patrol, but I was calling Washington every day because I put everything on my background investigation, and every day, anything. And finally, this nice little old lady said to me, Larry, can I be honest with you? She knew me from calling every day. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, unless you were convicted of murdering someone recently, you will get through this background because they needed people so bad.
Yeah. Right.
And back then things were really crazy down there. So I kind of was a good fit for them, you know. But listen, in 25 years and in the 4 years on the border, you have physical confrontations every day.
Mm-hmm.
In 25 years, I've never had a complaint against me. Never, you know. But a lot of that is because I was never scared to be around people of the other side.
Right on.
I understood where they were coming from when they wanted to be a tough guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So if my guys out on the border had someone that was real badass and wanted to fight, they'd always call me, come talk to this guy. And I would talk to him and try to de-escalate everything. Then if he decided, no, he's going to kick my ass, I said, okay, I'd give him a chance, but I'd always take the handcuffs off.
Right.
And the second you took the handcuffs off, their faces would change.
Right.
And they put them back on. I'm good. Because they're thinking, why is this guy taking my handcuffs off? You know what I mean? But I had that sense about me and that confidence and that smart because of the way I grew up.
Yep.
And that benefited me a great deal down there. And the problem we have today, Dante, is if you put a white guy in East St. Louis that's never been around black people, has never been into a fist fight, has never encountered anything like that, and you put someone against him who wants to fight, the only option he has is to shoot.
Yep.
He can't do anything else.
Yep.
So it's not a training thing. It's a capability thing, physically and mentally.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can have all the training in the world. You know, everybody I went through the Border Patrol Academy, which was brutal, had the same training.
Mm-hmm.
But when we got to boxing, that was a big thing in the Border Patrol. You had to box. You saw everyone's true colors.
Yeah.
And there were some guys that when they got hit, it was bad, man. They fell apart. They couldn't function. Those were the guys out in the field who had a lot more bullets and had every weapon under the sun because they're scared to death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
so when you have that kind of fear and you don't have the capabilities, deadly force has to come a lot faster. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm rambling on. Go ahead.
Oh, Larry, that's so for me. You know, this whole defunct the police force. No, I'm about reform. I truly believe that, and I've said this in a couple different posts and stuff like that. That when it comes to your law enforcement, they need to be able to identify with the community they serve. Okay. If you can't live in the town, and I know a lot of cops don't live in the towns they work because of fear or whatever, and I understand that, but you need to be able to get out of your vehicle and show yourself as a human being.
Yeah.
Okay, not just a badge. Okay, as a man or a female that wears that badge and wears it proudly, but also in the same breath, you know what? What's going on here? De-escalation. There's training that I truly believe part of it is training, but the crux of it is being able to communicate and talk to the people that you serve, right? You are there to serve and protect. But if you don't know the people that you're serving and protecting, that's a problem. That's a problem. If you've never been like your scenario, East St. Louis, if you've never been exposed to black people and you're going to send a white cop into East St. Louis, there's going to be a problem because babe, look, can I have a little ice, please? Thank you, baby. I love you. That's my rib right there. My wife is my hero.
Shut up.
So I don't know how long we're gonna do this tonight, Larry. I love that we're doing this. We're both rambling and stuff, but I think we should do moving forward is do this maybe weekly or whatever the case may be. Pick a topic, right? And talk about that topic and do like the short videos so people can stay tuned and understand where we're coming from on that. You know what I mean?
I think that's a fantastic idea.
All right, cool deal. So, the exposure thing, being able to identify with the community you serve. It takes me back to this point is the systematic racism that we have, the underlying racism that we have. And it's not black, it's not white. It's a lot of it is already in our minds. I've watched videos of countless of psychiatrists, and they go through these training, and they're sending these, what's her name, Jane Elliott, along with some others that I've watched. And if you look at the history, okay, and we go by our history, we are, I don't own slaves, I've never been a slave, all of that stuff. For me, it's like this, right? So you read the Bible, right? Black, it's evil. It's where the devil is. It's where negative things happen, right? You look at how it white, pure, angelic, and innocent. Okay, right off the bat, we discover that. Okay, you look at the old black and white movies back in the day, cowboys and Indians, right? The police officer or the good guy rode the white horse. The bad guys rode the black horses. So this is learned behaviors that we are automatically assume. If you are dark or you are black, you are presumed a different way than somebody that is light or white. It's just how we are taught and brought and everything else.
Well, it's even for, I agree with that. And even for people that don't think so. Okay.
Mhm.
People say, I don't see color. Yes, you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody sees color.
Absolutely. You
the way you respond to it, that's the difference. Okay.
Right.
So let's go right into it then. Start with George Floyd. Start with George Floyd and get right to it. Now let's hit the topics. Okay.
Yeah.
Because this it all needs to be talked about. So go ahead. Because I know me and you could talk. We've talked all night long before any of this.
Right on. It's nothing new. Right on. You got some Cheerios and some beer for breakfast?
Yeah, right. Oh, that was disgusting. I'll never forget. Hey, Dante, well, I got a rod. What?
No. Or wait, what was it? You were at a family function or something like that, and I think it was your cousin or something like that. He popped his first boner or something like that.
You gotta love it. Yeah. So yeah, we could, we've had many sleepless nights. Okay, so let's get to the serious stuff.
Right on, bro.
Give me your take. I know your take, but we'll go from there.
So the thing that bothers me is I don't see him, as some people want to say, as a martyr or
Right.
a idol or anything like that. Okay. My man did wrong in the past. Okay. I don't believe any of us are fully innocent of anything. But should we die over it? I don't think that's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the answer. George Floyd, that whole thing that was shown on television for the world to see, it spoke volumes because, like you said, that cop's arrogance. Okay. And for me, I see when he bent over at one point and readjusted himself. replaced his knee back on that dude and sat back up like what? You know what I mean? And for 8 minutes and 49 seconds, bro. And for that man to scream for his mother. I've heard this on many different outlets and stuff like that. And it speaks volumes because his mom was already dead.
Right, right.
And basically, some folks see it as his mother saying, "Come home, George. Come home. I got you." The man was screaming for his dead mom. We all got to see it. 8 minutes and 40 seconds, dude. We had a march a couple weeks ago, and we kneeled for 8 minutes and 49 seconds.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
And I bawled like a baby because I saw myself as George Floyd screaming for his mother. Because the coronavirus and all this other shit, I can't be with my mom right now.
Right.
So I could just imagine, like, that man could be me. Regardless of a record or not, treat me as a fucking, excuse me.
No, you could hurt.
As a human, okay? Not an animal, not a dog, not a savage, nothing. I don't care what your record is. At that point in time, let justice be served.
That was the mistake.
What's that?
That was the mistake. They waited too long on that one.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I don't care what he did in his past. Yeah, he was arrested. He's got a sheet record but also he's a struggling alcoholic, struggling drug addict, okay? He had shit in his system. If anybody knows anything about being an addict, it is a lifetime process. Lifetime process. But is he wrong for that? No. Should he have died for that? Absolutely not, dude. That's the thing that breaks my heart. Is because the man was killed and everybody was saying, "Oh, well, he had this record and he had that record and he had this and he had that." And then you look at Dylan Ruth, who they arrested and took to McDonald's or Burger King or whatever the case may be, and then they took him to prison.
Yeah.
This dude just killed 9 folks after praying with them. I don't get it.
I'll tell you where that changed. Okay. Now I'm going to give you what I hear as a white man, things that you won't hear, the conversations that I hear. Okay. So in the beginning, everybody was on the same page, as we talked about earlier. Everybody.
Right.
No one cared about his record. No one said any of that. Okay. Everybody. So no matter what his record was, unless he was a child molester or a rapist, those people deserve to die. He didn't deserve to die. All right.
Right.
I don't think anyone disagreed with that. And I'm telling you, I heard everybody. I mean, all colors didn't matter. Everyone agreed what we saw was disgusting and he should not have been killed. He was murdered, 100%.
Yep.
And if the right thing would have been done, those cops should have been dealt with immediately. Immediately. That was the first mistake. Now, here's the thing you're not going to hear anyone talk about on the news or public, okay? This is what everyone talks about in front of you when you're white.
Yeah.
No one cared about his record until the media and the people that benefit from it started making him a martyr, an angel.
Right.
And then I heard one line at his funeral and I cringed because I knew the hate was coming his way after that. I can't remember if it was Lawyer or Sharpton. I forget who said it, but they said his only crime was being born black. That was a tremendous mistake.
Yeah.
Don't hide the fact that the guy had a history. No, everybody knows. No one cared. No one cared.
Yeah.
But when they started making him seem like an angel, a gentle giant. And so I'm speaking to you honestly now. These are the things that I hear because people will talk openly in front of me. Right. They're going to say these things. They won't say them in front of you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
I didn't hear anyone that was on a different page when he was killed. Everyone said it was just in the law enforcement community. Forget it. That makes us all look bad.
Right.
Nobody wants those cops dealt with quicker than us. I'm not a
Right.
cop. I'm different. On the federal side, you don't get away with anything. Believe me when I tell you.
Yeah.
You know. And that was a big mistake. And then when Mr. Dorn was killed on camera, you could ask my wife. I didn't say nothing to her. I saw the video the night it happened, as it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in shock. And I've seen a lot of bad things.
Yep.
And I watched it over and over and over, at least 50 times, becoming physically ill, literally got sick.
Yeah.
And he was alive, taking his last breaths, and someone's filming him. That really hurt everyone's support for George Floyd.
Yeah.
Destroyed it, because when people hear Black Lives Matter, and I didn't understand this for a while either, okay? Well, all non-Black people, white people, brown, everybody wants to say, well, all lives matter.
Right.
And so at first, I was kind of like that too, but I made sure I listened to enough people that I talked to. And they're not saying, when they say Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean no one else's does. It just means their lives matter too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They
Right.
have to make that statement. And where that statement gets hurt is when they show people that shouldn't be representing that organization creating violence and calling for death for cops. If we don't police our own, we'll always be at odds. Always. Okay? And so it's real important when the cops do something wrong, they have to be dealt with, because most cops don't. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If you're a cop in a predominantly Black area, there shouldn't be two white cops in a car. There should be a white cop and a Black cop, or two Black cops.
That is so freaking funny you said that.
I mean, why is it that complicated? You know what I mean? Because first of all, that Black cop is going to know very quickly what this guy's mindset is like. 100%. Hey, this guy can't be in this neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? It's simple common sense. But the problem is, Dante, a lot of these people, a lot of these politicians, when I saw Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats kneeling with African scarves on, I don't think I've ever been offended in my life. I was honestly, truly offended on behalf of all Black people, because that was disgusting.
So was I.
That was a spit in the face to every Black person, every African on this planet. Do you think people are that gullible? That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting.
The funny thing too is me, I don't consider myself an African American. I am Black. I am Black and I am proud. So my African heritage, I don't identify with, because that was destroyed a long time ago. Okay. I'm trying to, through ancestry and stuff like that, rediscover who I come from.
Right.
Okay. But, for them to do that, man, now we're getting into politics. So
it's all right. It's okay.
No. I want to go back. I want to go back to a couple things that you pointed out. So, there are extremely opportunistic people out there, and we talked about, you mentioned that from the jump, on both sides, and I am not cool with any of it, because it takes the power and right now Black Lives matters is, in some aspects, they're a militant movement. They are killing cops and all of this other stuff. Well, just because some asshole goes out and kills a cop and says Black Lives Matter or has that t-shirt on, he's not representing the true intent of the movement. Okay, and that pisses me off.
It pisses me off when some right-wing Nazi does something on the name of Trump. I get it.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing.
So, there's, what happens, I'm assuming what happens is you get to a point where within the party, and we're talking about BLM right now, within that group, that foundation, that organization, you're not doing enough. We're not pushing for enough. Therefore, they splinter off and do more corruptive and disruptive stuff in the name of Black Lives Matter, but it's not the true intent.
Right.
I can say the same thing, and this might bug a lot of people, about the Black Panthers. When the Black Panthers were first brought about, it was about protecting the Black community. Okay? Law enforcement wanted nothing to do with the Black community. So who policed the Black communities? The Black Panthers. After school programs, that was started by the Black Panthers. But most people know the Black Panthers as cop killers.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, no. They splintered off and did some awful things, and they went extreme to the extreme. And now, if you say anything Black Panther, it's just like, oh, well, you don't like white people, number one. You don't like cops, number two. And you don't like your country, number three. You know what I'm saying? And your communist. I'm like, no, it's.
Well, people think you have to swing one way and one way only. You know how many people think I'm a very strong conservative right wing. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican. I don't give a shit about someone's political party. I am conservative on some things, and I'm very liberal on other things. The problem with today being a liberal, the liberals of today are the least tolerant people on the face of the earth. It's their way or the highway. Okay, and that's what you're looking at in Seattle right now. My wife is a liberal. This is the conversation I had with my daughter the other day. Your mother is a liberal, but a true liberal. She honestly is open-minded as anyone I've ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. She's not going to vote for a Democrat just because they're a Democrat. Doesn't happen. She truly gives everyone a shot. That's what being a true liberal is. Right. But people think they know you. And with me, it's worse because I'm fairly visible online. Yep. And you know how nothing pisses me off more when I get nasty stuff in, like I did with the Shannon Sharp thing. Yeah. I should only speak about dogs. Oh, well,
that pissed me off.
Fuck you. You eat up my free content that I put out daily, but you think that's the only thing. I'm actually a very opinionated person. I just stopped talking politics a while ago because I became happier when I stopped. You know what I'm saying? Right. Now, we talked about George Floyd. Everyone gets, we were all on the same page there. We talked about where that went wrong. That was the people that want to benefit that hurt that cause, right? How the media didn't do more coverage of Mr. Dorn makes me sick. Sick. He should have been given full services on every channel, just like George Floyd was. 100%. Every honor that there is. That's a black man. It's a black man who has done so much for the black community in his 77 years. He should be worshipped. Okay? So then when they start rioting, and people are talking about it. No, people came in from all over to get free shit. Okay. Yep. One of the stories that broke my heart the most, I think he was a firefighter and his wife. I think it was in Minneapolis. Their life savings to open up their dream of a sports bar hasn't even opened yet. And they're standing in there begging the looters, please, we own this. Telling them, us, black people, own this. And they looked right in their face and destroyed their place and tried to steal the safe, and they lost everything. Don't ever tell me that has a purpose, because that's just greed, and that's people taking advantage. Just like anyone with common sense.
They didn't open yet. They had nothing of worth in their building.
Right. Right.
They're just.
But who's funding and supplying these people with everything? Who's dropping pallets of bricks on all the corners of New York?
Right.
You know, I mean, come on. Okay, so we were real honest with the George Floyd thing. Two other things that I think hurt relations between black and white and cops and non-cops. One was Jesse Smollett. When he got attacked by Trump people, Make America Great Again, I really wish more people would have stepped up and said, this is disgusting. And they didn't. Why? Why would you hurt all of your people to support this guy that's trying to create a friggin' race war? I don't understand it. So these are the things that white people talk about that you won't hear.
Yeah. So
you understand what I'm saying?
So you know what? Honestly, this race war is a thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was paid off in some aspect.
Me either. Not at all. Absolutely.
I would not be. It lost its traction a long time ago. You know what? My thing is, I don't trust anybody. I've lost faith in man.
I don't blame you.
So, oh, thanks, babe. My wife just flipped me the finger. So, I'll trust you. When it comes to law enforcement, I don't 100% trust law enforcement. I respect their badge. Okay, I will respect the badge, but I don't trust them 100% because of my own history dealing with law enforcement. It's just how it is.
It's a lot of power.
Well, people say, oh, there's good cops and there's bad cops. Well, I guess in my 47 years of life, I just ran into the most bad cops. You know what I mean? It's just maybe it's just my bad luck. I am not against law enforcement at all, but we need to reform what we're doing now because it's not working.
No, that's the bottom line. It's not working.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the nasty messages, I didn't get no direct nasty messages over this. What I got was screenshots of other people saying nasty things.
Right.
My favorite one was, he knows one black guy, so he's going to do a live. I just laughed out loud.
Wow.
Because people are so unhappy with their own lives, you know, fat, unattractive, miserable people that have nothing going for them. So it's nothing but negativity. That one made me, my wife just gave me the look like, she said, don't generalize all fat as unhappy people or something. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing for those that don't know Mr. Larry Krohn, okay? Lawrence. He doesn't like Lawrence, number one. Okay. Number two, he doesn't like a particular 6th grade teacher either. Number three, so when the hip hop game was coming about and breakdancing in the early to mid 80s was about, Larry Krohn is Lodi's Radio Raheem. So,
don't go telling people. You don't have to tell people.
I don't care. I don't care. Larry had the first boombox. Okay, when we walked around town, when Larry got that boombox, and we were bumping 30 Days from Run DMC, we were the shit. We've arrived. Larry Krohn, we are the shit. You know what I mean? It was the funny thing is, and this is just you and I, right? It's just you and me.
Yeah.
In a lot of aspects, you acted more black than I did.
I was just going to say, you want to know what's funny about that? Through my 25-year career in federal law enforcement, I've been told many times I'm the blackest white guy they've ever met.
Absolutely.
I always took that as a compliment.
It should be. It should be. The dude loved hip hop. He loved Run DMC, right? He loved women of color. And the dude loved basketball. Like basketball. Folks out there, basketball was his life.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know how you made time for Steph, as you were trying to play basketball. Basketball was your first love, dude. Honestly.
Yeah, it definitely was. You know, one of my buddies that I work with a couple of months ago was in my front seat and reached over, and I had a CD on the side, and he looked at it and he goes, "What the hell is this?" And it was Boogie Down Production, Criminal Minded.
Absolutely. That was number two. That was number two.
So I've never been without a Criminal Minded CD since 1986, 87 when it came out, you know. But
and he was preaching to us then, Larry.
Yeah,
think about it. He was preaching to us then, right? When KRS-One started talking about the overseer becoming the officer. Officer, right? That's
he was way ahead of his time when
absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
That is important, okay? And let's dive in real quick. That is important because there's been a long found history between law enforcement and people of color, okay? The first folks that were policing were overseers, okay? And their job was to find slaves that tried to flee the plantations to bring them back to the masters. That was our first police. And as we've gone on, when local law enforcement couldn't do what they needed to do, especially in the South, what did they do? They said the Klan. They sent the Klan out to do their dirty work. So the issue between law enforcement and people of color, we didn't own slaves, but that's where it started. And I want the audience to know that's where it started. There's never been any trust between law enforcement and people of color. When white people are taught to what am I saying? Abide by law enforcement. When the law enforcement approaches you, you abide by them. You do what you need to do. Okay, you're taught to abide by the rules of the law enforcement. When black or people of color are introduced to law enforcement, it's fear. We are taught to fear law enforcement.
Right.
You think about most children in black communities, when they're introduced to law enforcement, it's never a good thing.
Somebody being taken away.
Absolutely. It's
right.
Never a good thing. Never a good thing. So right off the bat, it's just like, are they going to take me away? Or are they going to take my mom away next? That fear is already embedded in the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to the earlier point is we need law enforcement. I posted a video earlier. We need more law enforcement to get out the vehicles and say, hey, look, it ain't perfect. It ain't right. But I am one of the good guys. I want to help.
It'd go a long way.
Absolutely.
It'd go a long way.
So just being out in the community. Look, there were some asshole Lodi cops, but for the most part, I didn't see them as racists. They weren't racist. They were just assholes.
No, they were racist. You didn't see it. I did.
No. Oh, really?
Okay. I did.
I didn't see it. Again, I didn't see it because probably some of the people I hung around with. You know what
I took plenty of beatings, okay, because of the people I hung out with. Now, don't get me wrong. I took a lot of beatings because I was a little asshole. I deserved a lot of them, but I'll give you an example. One time, we're in front of my house. I don't remember why the cops came. I'm sure we were doing something we shouldn't have been supposed to be doing.
The family business, Larry. The family business.
Yeah. My brother had a cast on his leg.
Okay.
He broke his foot. And a bunch of cops came up, all the ones we know. I won't say any names. And my brother had his hat on backwards. And the cop kicked him in his leg hard in the cast.
Yeah.
And his exact words were, and I'm not going to not say it because I want, I want it to have an effect.
Larry,
Okay.
please don't say it. Please.
It'll come back to me. Okay. What he said was he kicked him in the leg and he said, "You want to act like an N? I'll treat you like an N."
Okay.
He later went on to lead the area in his position of law enforcement.
Yeah.
I've been pulled out of my bed in the middle of the night by 8 cops and locked up for absolutely no reason.
I believe it.
I'm a federal agent. I'm very pro law enforcement, but we had some scumbags over there.
You know what? That's so funny. Again, God, we could do this all night. So, we talk about white privilege and all of this other stuff. There's not only white privilege. I truly believe there's black privilege as well. And I have benefited from white and black privilege. I benefited from white privilege because of some of the other kids I hung around with,
Right.
outside of you. Okay? Understand that, right?
You're saying I'm the black sheep of the white people?
Absolutely, you are. So, Larry, listen, when we were all hanging out with you and your brother and our old school crew, right? The cops would come at you before they would come at me.
Oh, Lord, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But in the same breath, I look at where I grew up compared to folks in the black community, I benefited as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where some of my counterparts in the black community didn't have their father either. What adult role model males did they have to look up to?
Right.
They didn't have those opportunities that I had. I was lucky enough to grow up in Lodi and to have these men. So, all right, let me stop. Let me go back for a minute. So, I had a black pastor in my church as a mentor. I had his brother who was prior military and law enforcement, who I looked up to. Okay. Those were the 2 black men that I looked up to. Besides that, all my others were white, and most of them were law enforcement. I adored these men because they let me in their homes. Despite even your home, despite of the greatest advice I've ever gotten from a man was from your father.
That's scary.
I know. So it was after his back surgery, and he found out I had scoliosis. And I was like, yeah, I've got the option to get the surgery or just deal with it. He goes, Dante, don't ever get that back surgery. He goes, it was the worst decision I ever made. So my back is still screwed up, but technology is changing, stuff like that. But I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. I will deal with, the crap I have now, but I'm not doing that back surgery. I know more people that have back surgery that have more issues now than they did prior to the surgery. And that's what your dad was telling me.
Right. Now, you mentioned white privilege.
Yeah.
That's a term that gets people fired up. And it did me too for a while. And here's why. Like you said, we both grew up poor. I had nothing, A lot of times that's why I did the things I did.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to understand. And it just dawned on me. I heard someone say something one day. It's not that as white people, you don't struggle. That's not what it means. It just means your skin color is not a factor in it. And that was very eye-opening to me.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's right. And the thing is, you have to be open to understand where people are coming from. You're going to have people on the black side that are going to take advantage of everything they can. You're going to have people on the white side that are going to take advantage of everything you can. The only difference between the projects and the trailer park is where they're located. All the people have the same problems.
Absolutely.
Now, we talked about that. Now, into a real hot topic. Colin Kaepernick, the kneeling, the flag. What's your take? Where has it been from the start?
So
You're a military man,
oh, absolutely. 23
retired
years.
military.
Army, 23 years.
Yeah.
Or,
Yep.
anyway, so I have no problem with kneeling.
Were you like that from the start?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Absolutely. And this is the crazy uniqueness of all of this is, so we have the Constitution, right? And we take an oath. And for me, no matter how fucked up it may be, I have knowledge of self. I have knowledge of what I see the future being. Okay. The Constitution did not include anybody outside of white men because they created it.
Right.
So women weren't a factor, gays and lesbians weren't a factor, and slaves weren't a factor because we were property.
Right.
Okay. So getting back to the Kaepernick thing. So the Constitution, the First Amendment right. You've got every right to kneel. If that's what you want to do, brother, go ahead and do it.
Right.
I'm not going to hate. I won't kneel, but I respect you for executing your first. I'm not going to get pissed off because I know why he's kneeling. He said it from day one. It wasn't about the flag. He was told to kneel by an ex-Navy SEAL or whatever he was, a Green Beret.
Yeah, I think he was a Green Beret.
Right. So Larry, so originally he sat, right?
Yeah.
And nobody cared about that. Nobody paid attention to the fact that he sat. It wasn't until the Green Beret dude said, hey, sitting is kind of disrespectful. Take a knee.
Yeah.
It's still showing respect. You know what I mean? Take a knee. And he took a knee and he's been destroyed ever since. It's gone from Kaepernick taking a knee that, oh, he's against the flag, right? And any supporter of that, well, you're not American. You're against the flag. You're against the military, right?
It definitely caused a lot of turmoil for sure.
And you're against law enforcement. You're non-patriotic, and you're non-American. Like, how the fuck did we get to that point?
All right.
If I have to protect and defend the Constitution that also supports and everything else to white supremacists to post their websites and all of this other shit that they do, he's allowed to have his stance.
Right. And see, and so I'll tell you, I come from a whole different place. I hated it, and I hated him. Okay. For one, I didn't think he was ever doing anything except trying to do it for selfish reasons. Okay. He waited till he was no longer a factor and wasn't playing and wasn't any good. Mm-hmm. Right. And then I think about all the military people, and I have friends, I'm sure you do too, who have sacrificed lives and limbs and everything for the military. Black, white, brown, yellow, every color under the sun. Yeah. And so for me, you know, it was just awful. And I'm not a military guy, but I'm a big supporter of military. And it disgusted me.
Right.
But when I watched the Shannon Sharp thing, I don't remember nothing he said except for one part that kicked me in the dick. All right.
Yep.
When he talked about black soldiers fighting in all the wars, old wars, all the wars, and then coming back and not having any rights, it destroyed me.
Yep.
That's the only line. I don't care what else he said. I don't know what else he said, even though I heard it.
That's important.
The only thing I could picture is what I try to do, Dante, is when I see something that bothers me or I don't agree with, I'll always put like my kids in that scenario. or my wife in that scenario? How would I feel? And it changes everything. It
Absolutely.
absolutely changes everything. So Kaepernick's biggest issue was he's raised by rich white people. He had everything handed to him on a silver platter.
Right.
And he's, in the people's eyes and white people's eyes, he's an angry black man who was raised by white people. He's very ungrateful. That's where white. And so you're probably never going to be told that to your face because white people are going to,
I've seen that.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care about Kaepernick. I love that you just said you're okay with it. You're going to stand for the flag, but you'll support those that kneel. It was that one line that Shannon Sharp said. I don't know if I agree. Like, honestly, I blanked it all out when I thought about soldiers in World War II coming back or Vietnam coming back and still being treated like shit.
Right. Like,
that's
the thing that kills me is so the NFL, they made a business decision with the United States, with the DOD, to start as a recruiting tool, okay, to start displaying the flag and all of this other stuff. It was about business. It wasn't about being a patriot or anything like that. You know what I mean? It was about business. So the thing is, where I look, Drew Brees' statement is on point, and he's allowed to feel the way he wanted to. And I commend him for feeling that way. I just think it was insensitive because of the point in the time where we were. Okay? He apologized for being insensitive, and I'm okay with that. Okay? I'm not angry or upset at him that he's proud of his ancestors. Okay? My thing is, if we're going to tell the story, and this has been my thing from day one, if we're going to tell the story of America and the true intent of this country, we need to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
It wasn't only white folks that were proud and did this, and then there were people of color that sacrificed just as much.
Yeah.
You had slaves in the South fighting for the Confederacy because they thought that they were going to be freed after slavery.
Right.
They fought in defense of the dudes that held them captive because they thought they were going to be freed. World War II vets, the German POWs were treated better than the soldiers of color. Think about that.
And when you talk about the Confederacy,
think about that, Larry.
Yeah, no, I get it.
POWs, right? When we went over there, our German POWs that we captured and brought back on the trains, they got to sit second tier. Black soldiers, they had to sit third tier.
Right.
Okay. Those black men and those black women that supported them, okay, and all of color, not just black, anybody of color, okay, they went over and fought for somebody else's freedom, knowing they had no freedom at home.
Right.
They were lynched if they were appeared in uniform. You know why? Because we can't let these Negroes, right, think they have any power. So the GI Bill, right, the VA loan, all of that stuff, they couldn't use. We can't let the black man or the people of color come up. We can't let them come up. So those cats that think that this isn't a big issue, it's a lot bigger than a flag or a symbol or whatever the case may be.
Well,
We
here
have different views on that.
Here's and I think this is a big mistake. Right now, because of everything going on, they're removing Confederate statues from all over the place, right? They did right here in Kentucky too.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a lot smarter, because I think what that does is it erases a lot of people a lot of history for Black people. And once you forget your history, that's a problem.
Oh,
I think instead of removing the Confederate statues, they should be adding statues of Black people and Black soldiers and people of color that played important roles through the history of this country.
Yeah.
That's how you bring people together.
Right on.
Not removing something to make one side happy and making the other side hate you more.
Right. My whole thing is this: is there's got to be a compromise. We're all about
Has to be.
extreme.
Has to be.
Look, I'm saying, look. At one point, I was like, if you're going to take the Confederate monuments and stuff like that, put them in certain locations. Now, I truly believe leave them where they are. They are a part of American history. What I don't want reparations. I don't want anything like that. I want us to teach history in its fact.
And that's why they should be adding statues, not removing.
Right. The problem for me is we're only taught history in the white perspective.
Right.
And that's we're not learning history. You know, then folks are like, well, why do we have Black History Month and Black news channels and Black BET and all this other stuff? Because for the longest time, the only history we were taught were by white men, predominantly white men. White men wrote his story, and that is not the only history that exists in this country.
You know what's funny about this, Dante? I guarantee you that some people will watch this and they'll label you the angry Black man.
I am.
No, you're not. You couldn't be further from that. You've never been. You've never been. You've never ever been. You've never been.
We've talked about this, or you mentioned it earlier, is, you know, when I was a child, when I was a young man, I was the token. And I was, and you probably know this because you know me more than a lot of people. I was a very sensitive, very insecure individual. Okay.
You hit it.
Say again?
You hit it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I hit it. I hit it because I had to, on the outside, I had to portray that I was a fucking superstar and all of this other shit. But when I went home at night, I was a lonely young man. Okay. And all I had was me and my thoughts. And I struggled for a long time because I didn't fit in with the white of white kids. And I didn't fit in with the black of black kids because I'm a white, I grew up in a white town. So my cousins and family members, you know, when I went to Passaic and Patterson, they would tease me because I didn't sound black.
Right.
My grandmother was in Lodi. My grandmother from Raleigh, North Carolina, that grew up with all that shit, okay, with all that nonsense. She said, when you come to my house, you don't bring that Passaic talk in my house. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? All that ghetto-ness and all that nonsense. She educated me from 8 years old on that shit.
Right.
You need to know your audience. Like you said earlier, you need to know who you're talking to.
Right.
Okay, I can black out when I'm with my boys and, you know, you and all this other stuff, but there's no, because that's not who I am. I am true to me. Okay, and I have educated myself on many issues because I didn't grow up in a black community. But I've educated myself to empathize with the shit that's going on there. Okay. I've educated myself on what and how the law enforcement may feel in certain instances because I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be Lodi's first black cop. I wanted to be that dude. Okay. A lot of our friends are in law enforcement, Larry.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we've got about 50 friends that at least, well, you have more because you're in it, but you know, from home in Lodi, there's about 50 of them that are in law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's just like, I've always navigated my own worth. I am a black man in America. I am proud of who I am. I am a descendant of slaves and slavery, but I am also, because I know who I am a descendant of king and queens, and nobody can ever change that. I know my history. I know my worth. And my struggle is those in the black communities, they don't get to see that worth because of how we teach history. They don't get to learn that they are bigger and better than crackheads and dope dealers and all that other nonsense. We need more. We need more education saying, you know what? Black folks in this country did a lot more than we talk about.
You need more interaction too. You need more interaction too.
Absolutely. Larry, that's the biggest part of it.
That's what I had. That's what I had. That's what
and me on the other side.
That's what shaped me to you know what I am. You know, I had that.
We had Pito, we had Jose, we had everybody from 3rd Street, you know, coming down and was like, look, this is how it's gonna be. Who'd we learn the breakdance from? Who'd we learn hip hop from? It was from them.
I was able to walk through some of the worst neighborhoods of the worst town. And when I got approached to get mugged, which I always did, only for the first couple of times I could say, I'm going to call so-and-so and he's going to kick your ass. Right. And I never got mugged.
Right on. You know Dan Lee? You know Dan Lee?
Because people looked out for me, you know, and I never forgot that. I'm a loyal guy, you know, and like I said earlier, the one thing that I am grateful for with my parents was that was never an issue, man. My house was filled with all kinds, always. It just was normal for us. Absolutely. You know what I mean? It was just normal. And today, you know, when we first moved to Kentucky, now Stephanie's dark skin, so we had a lot of people looking at us.
I believe it. Well, we talked about that years ago.
Yeah, I think it was more of people trying to figure out what she was.
Right, because I was like, what the hell is Border Patrol doing in Kentucky?
Right.
Yeah.
But one of her first days on her new job out in Western Kentucky, there was an old white lady, who told her boss, that colored girl is so sweet.
Wow.
That colored girl.
Yep.
And Stephanie was like floored. She wasn't mad, but she was shocked because where we grew up, that just wasn't a thing. Right. Now that old lady, she wasn't mean. She thought my wife was very sweet. She didn't know any different.
Absolutely.
When I was about 12 years old, 10 to 12 years old, I went to a friend of ours' grandmother's apartment, mutual friend, black guy. And I'll never forget it today. I never told anybody this. I think I just told Stephanie for the first time. We got to her door and he said, "You wait here." And he went inside and she looked, he shut the door, and I heard her say, "Why are you with that white boy?" And I remember him saying, "Grant, that's my friend. He's a good guy." And it really hurt me. Like, really. I never told him I heard it. It really hurt me. But as I got a little older, I understood it. This is an old lady, an old black lady. She was an old lady in the early 1980s.
Right. Right.
Who had seen some shit.
Yep.
So I have to be able to understand where that statement came from.
Knowledge is power, brother.
I never told him that I heard that. Never. And he'll probably see this. He'll probably see this. I never told him, and I love him to death, but I understood it. You know, I totally. So today, to this day, when I'm talking to an old black man or an old black woman and they're as sweet as can be to me, I'm blown away because I know they've been through shit. Mm-hmm. I know they've been through a lot of shit, and I never take that for granted. Do you know what video I have I'm approaching like 10 million views and 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Do you know what video by far was shared more than any other video? I don't know if you saw it.
What's that?
Last year, there was an 18-year-old black kid given a ticket on the beach for being in the water.
Oh, I remember that. Down by where you go?
In Florida.
Destin or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
I was so blown away and so furious that I had to step in. I had to. And it was so obvious what he was doing. Believe me when I tell you.
Yeah.
This is a law enforcement guy talking, okay?
Right.
That video was shared, last time I checked, 1,500 to 2,000 times. It went crazy. But here's the thing that got me, Dante. When he was giving that kid that ticket, and I looked at my sister-in-law, I said, he's not doing what I think he is. She said, I think he is. What really convinced me that that guy was a piece of shit was when that boy's uncle tried to talk to him, he was much kinder and much more respectful than I would have been.
Right.
And that guy looked at him and he said, he's 18. I don't need to talk to you. I knew where his heart was coming from.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew instantly.
Huh.
But there was a statement made there by somebody, too, that really bothered me on the other end. They said, that's exactly what's wrong with this country. That statement bothered me because they focused on the one guy doing wrong when there was 200 people standing around that were infuriated. 200 white people standing around that were infuriated and going after that guy for giving him a ticket, too.
Yep.
So you're going to see shit if you want to see shit.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They focused on the one person and said, that's what's wrong with this country, when there was probably 200 people standing there disgusted at what we were saying.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I caught a lot of grief from that, too.
I remember that.
I caught a lot of grief from that, too. But I'm no angel, and I've made more mistakes than anyone. But I'm going to do what's right now when I can. You understand what I'm saying?
The thing for me is, in Lodi, we grew up in this little bubble. And there were 5, maybe 10, and I'm pushing 10 black families in Lodi.
Right.
Lodi has always been the blue collar knockout, drag out kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are, right? We scuffle, we ruffle.
The rich kids really stood out. You knew who they were.
Exactly, right. The thing is, look, I don't care who you are or who you think you may be. We're from Lodi. Sorry, give me a second. Right on. Hey! The thing is, we're from Lodi. We band together. It doesn't matter color, race, creed, whatever. You F with Lodi, you get the whole friggin' family. And that's how we rolled.
Yeah.
Right? That's how we rolled, because we were kind of blessed in this little bubble. But, for many of us outside of that little bubble it's different. It's different. Like, there's a lot of our white friends that can say, oh, I had no problem with color. Dante was my best friend and all this other shit.
Right.
But you know what? I remember my first experiences as Little League football players. When we went to Caldwell, Wanacue, Mawa, and played all these other schools, they would talk shit. And football players would get kicked out of games because they were defending me. That's how I grew up. That's how we grew up. You're going to call my friend the N-word? Bow, 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 bow. That's how we gullied, you know what I mean? And I appreciated all of them. Mike Velarde, Jamie Ciafalo, all of those guys. They always, Phil Doherty, they always looked out for me. Always. Dante, don't worry about it. What's going on? Well, he called you the N-word. Well, I'm trying to win a football game, man. You ain't got to kick. You got kicked out. You my best blocker. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that I appreciate and I love, and I wish everybody had the opportunity to say, you know what? You can have 2 or 3 black friends, or 2 friends of any generation or any ethnicity. Thank you, baby. And be okay with it, because you grow from that. That's how we learn. That's how we love. That's how we grow, man. I wouldn't be the person I am if I was just single-minded. And we
Let me
all,
ask you something. Let me
yeah,
ask you if you remember this, because you were there. You were on the team. This always bothered me. So when we played basketball, I had our coach, who wasn't my coach at the time because I refused to play high school basketball, basically
right.
come down and recruit me every day at the park. I want you to come play. I want you to come play. And then the
Yeah.
second I did, he kind of treated me like shit. But this is the one thing I'll always remember. And you were there. That's what blew me away. I came down the court and I did something. And because I could maybe jump a little higher than the average white guy, do something, he ripped my ass apart in front of everyone. And the line that came out of his mouth right in front of you was, "We're not playing at the park with the brothers."
Yep. Yep.
I knew I was fucked right there. I didn't stand a chance.
Yep.
I couldn't believe it. And you were standing right there, and I'm thinking, this guy really, really doesn't want me here. And what kind of coach says that in front of his black player?
Well, it doesn't care.
I was blown away. Another game, we're playing Mawa away.
Oh boy.
Jamie says to me during warm-ups, Jamie,
Yeah.
Coach loved Jamie.
Yep.
He said, Bear,
Ball.
he said, if we get a fast break, he said, I'm throwing it to you. You have to throw down a dunk to get this crowd out of the game. I said, okay. The coach heard that. He benched me for the whole game. I never got in.
Yep.
He just heard that. He benched me.
It was there. Larry, it was always there.
That's blatant.
Well,
That's,
the funny thing is,
I was too black for him, and I'm a white guy.
right. That's the funny thing about racism, is because you play a certain way. You play black, Larry. Okay. Look, I will say this. The squad that we had, you, Jamie, Mauser, and a couple other ball players, okay, we had the opportunity to be dominant. But because we played, as they called it back then, Larry, street ball, right? We played street ball that wasn't acceptable. Larry, do you? So I'm gonna go back for a minute. We're rambling. So there was a point in time that law enforcement got involved because the amount of non-white people hanging at Memorial Park.
Yeah, I was there for all of it.
You know where I'm going, right?
Yeah, I was there for all of it.
So Memorial Park was this new park. We had basketball courts. We had the soccer field. We had benches. There was everything. It was the greatest thing that we've seen in Lodi history. Parents were like, thank you, tax-paying money. Thank you. I appreciate it. Right? We all hung around there. When the cops discovered it was getting too dark, right? They took down the courts. They took down the basketball courts and the nets. And they blamed it on because of the graffiti that was all over the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Now, I hope everyone else is still listening and connected, because the funny thing about the amphitheater and the graffiti, it was my other best friend. It was Keith Very. I'm going to put his name out there. Look, I don't care. I'm going to put his name out there. The graffiti was, I love KV. I love Keith Very. I heart KV. I heart KV. All this other nonsense. It had nothing to do with us playing basketball. It was about, I counted 86 or 87 different girls that wrote on the amphitheater wall that they loved Keith very.
No,
It had
they knew.
nothing to do with
They knew what they. Listen, I spent many nights locked up because I refused to leave the basketball courts late at night.
Absolutely.
My mother knew where I was going to be. I was there working on my game straight through the night, middle of the night. Cops would come by, you got to go. But I'm practicing, you got to go. I'd leave.
Right.
As soon as they left, I'd go back and play. Next thing you know, they're calling my mother at 3 a.m. I'm locked up. Well, what do you do? He was playing basketball. You got to be kidding me.
Right.
you got to be. I refuse to stop playing.
Larry,
You know?
I learned to dunk with the little ball in the dark.
So, it is what it is. But the whole concept of this, and you brought up a lot of good points, Dante. There has to be compromise, and there has to be people there on both sides to show some sense.
Yeah.
And right now, the politicians and the groups that benefit from it, they're destroying it. They're getting exactly what they want.
The average American person is too ignorant to figure out that all of this bullshit is killing us. That's the problem. Okay.
Go any place where you're at right now. I went into a bar/restaurant to pick up food the other day, and I think I talked about this on a video. And I'm looking around. There's probably 50% black, 50% white. The employees, and everyone was just normal, interacting. Mm-hmm. There is no conflict. There is no conflict in the real world. There's things that we have to work on for sure, 100%. You defund the police, the only people suffer are poor people. And that means black neighborhoods, poor white neighborhoods, poor brown neighborhoods. They're the ones that suffer the most. That's where the police.
It all depends where you put the money. And Larry, that we'll say that for another topic.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about another day about black worth and black worth. We need to discuss that on another day, because folks are like, oh, why are they burning up their own communities, this, that, and the other? Black folks don't own shit in their own communities. They don't own anything. So what they're burning is shit that's owned by other people than black folks. And that's the point that a lot of folks are missing. They're not burning their communities. They're burning the communities that they are frustrated with. It's these white folks that are coming in here into these black communities and owning up everything. And there's an issue with that. And it comes from a deeper issue in regards to small business, number one, okay, and small black businesses, number two. That's a huge part. That's a huge part of it. Look, do I condone folks burning shit? Absolutely not. Do I understand why they burning shit? Absolutely I do. It's a Target. Target got their money. You feel me, Larry? Target got their. Is it fucked up? Because you know what? The folks that are doing right, where they shop is Target. They're screwed for.
But the people who own Target will be fine, Dante. The black fireman and his wife won't.
No, that's small business.
That's a problem.
Hey, hold that thought. I gotta pee. Babe, come sit. Come here. Come sit. Come sit.
That's what I told Stephanie she'd have to do if I have to poop.
Say, dude, can I tell you something, Larry?
Yeah.
My stress level has been out. I took 3 craps today because I've been stressing over this.
Why are you even sharing that?
Oh, come on, we can wrap it up if you want.
No. Just sit, babe.
Hello, Miss McCarroll.
Hello, how are you?
How are you doing?
I'm good.
I hope I get to meet you someday.
I know.
Well, wait a second. I remember the kids when they
The
were
two older
young.
ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
When they were
Yeah.
very, very little. That's the last time I saw Dante. That was at my wedding. Last time I saw Dante.
Okay.
I'm married 23, 24 years.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Dez is going to be 25 in August.
Wow.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah. Dante just turned 23 in April. So.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And then the two younger ones, 15 and almost 12. So.
Wow. That's great. Beautiful kids.
Well, you
Really?
can borrow them anytime you want because
Yeah.
drive me nuts.
Listen, we're both filling the world with mixed kids. We're going to be
Well,
so hated.
no, it's up to us. It is up to us.
What's that?
She stays away because she's always scared of what I'm going to say.
Well, that's why I sat here. I just needed to make sure somebody was policing what he was saying this evening.
If I get too much bourbon in me, the things that start coming out of my mouth should not be said on live. That's
Yep.
that's
Are we gonna start singing?
no, definitely not.
Why not?
Not a good idea.
Definitely not. But listen, I like your idea of doing these regularly and talking about more topics. You know, we kind of have a unique point of view. And if people don't want to see them, I don't really give a damn. I like talking to you, and it's a good excuse, you know. But I'll let you. You're gonna have
This that are so important.
well,
To
it
get two sides of what is happening, and it's two perspectives that are shared, and also through different life experiences, it's important for conversations like that to happen.
if everyone just sits on the couch and watches the news, nothing's ever going to be fixed.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be fixed.
Yep.
You know. So I hope some people get something out of this, and we'll definitely do it again. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much for coming on.
Love you.
Man, love you too, man. I'm so glad I got to talk to you. I hope I get to see you someday. You know, I have to make it to one of these reunions.
Yeah,
you know.
Dude, it's 30 years this month.
Oh my God! Don't even tell people that. That's
30 years this month.
You're right. That's right. Wow.
High school. Yeah,
30. Hey, 30 years to Lodi High School, class of 1990.
Tapped out. I drank my bottle. I gotta get a bigger bottle next time.
I'll let you guys get going. Thanks so much, brother, for doing this.
All right, hit me up on the side, and we'll figure out a topic, and we'll go on from there.
You got it, buddy. Love you to death. Have a good night. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
all right, brother. Bye.